Hello. This video will be a guide on how to solve puzzles the right way to improve and maximize your time. Real quick to start, I'll get into the reasons of why we should solve puzzles. Puzzles will improve our calculation, which is, in other words, it's our ability to see multiple moves ahead. By doing more puzzles, your ability to see multiple moves ahead accurately will improve over time, which will make you a better chess player overall. The other big thing that solving puzzles will help is improving your tactical pattern recognition. So being able to see things like forks and pins and winning material through multiple move sequences is not something that high-level players are doing by magic. It's because they've done so many puzzles that they just see these patterns naturally. And that's only something that you can work on by doing many, many puzzles over time. Now, I'm going to get into the process of how to actually solve puzzles correctly. Step 1 of solving puzzles correctly is we need to scan for all of our candidate moves. And the way we scan for candidate moves is we need to look for our most forcing moves. So the moves we're going to have to scan for in a given position are checks, captures, and then threats. So looking at this position, the way I'm going to start solving this puzzle is I'm just going to draw arrows for all of my checks, captures, and threats. In this position, I'm going to draw arrows for all of the captures that I have. And then I'm going to draw arrows for all of my threats, which I think are just these two. Yeah. Oh, and that's also a capture. So I drew all my arrows for all of my candidate moves before I actually started calculating to any depth on any individual move. Step 2 of our puzzle solving process is we're going to start calculating all of our different candidate moves to multiple moves of depth. Going back to our original puzzle, I'm going to start by discounting some of the moves that are obviously terrible. For example, this bishop capture is bad because then he just recaptures and then I don't have anything. So I'm going to discount a lot of the moves which I know are just really bad immediately. So now I've narrowed it down to just 2 moves which I'm actually going to calculate to depth. First, I'm going to look at rook takes queen. Now, after I, in my head, have played rook takes queen, what I need to do is look for my opponent's forcing moves in that position. In that position, black only has one forcing move, which is bishop takes queen. And after that, there's no longer any forcing moves for white, which have any threat. So if I finish my calculation there, I can say black has lost a queen and white has lost a queen, so that results in an even trade. So we know that the original candidate move of rook takes queen results in an even trade. Now if I calculate the other candidate move I had, which was queen takes bishop, now we have to look at the candidate moves for black in that position, which include queen takes rook and queen takes other rook. So we'll go one by one. If queen takes this rook, we recapture the queen with the bishop, and black has just lost a queen there, so that's bad. If queen takes the other rook, we can recapture the queen with our queen, and in that finishing position, there's no more forcing moves for black. So at the end of that, black has lost a bishop and a queen for the rook. If after we capture the bishop, black doesn't capture either one of these, then we've just won a bishop for nothing. So now we've calculated the move queen takes bishop to depth. So now we know that the correct move in this position is queen takes bishop. This gets into one of my first tips with actually solving puzzles, in that we need to actually calculate the entire line all the way through. What you may have noticed is that when I calculated the move queen takes bishop, I looked at all of the forcing moves for black, and I made sure that I was able to refute all of them, which meant after black played that forcing move, I was able to respond, and then black had no more forcing moves after that. So once I actually play the move queen takes bishop on the board, the position... Oh, they actually played one of the moves I calculated, which I now know, because of my calculation, that after queen takes, that's the end of the line. So I correctly followed my own tip of calculating the entire line all the way through before playing the move. The third step of the process, which I kind of did naturally in the calculation but forgot to verbally say out loud, was we needed to actually evaluate the result of each of the moves. So going back to this original puzzle, the example I can say was when I evaluated the move rook takes queen, I saw that black was able to play bishop takes queen, and I evaluated that that result was just an even queen trade. And then when I looked at queen takes bishop, I evaluated that I was either going to win the bishop or win the bishop and the queen for the rook. So in my evaluation in that puzzle, I knew that the correct move was queen takes bishop. For this next tip, I'm going to give an actual example on a board with an actual puzzle. For this puzzle, I'm going to pretend that I think the right answer is to play the move d4 in order to try and attack the knight. And I'm going to play it on the board. As you can see, that is not the correct answer. Now, my next tip for solving puzzles the right way in order to improve is that if you get a puzzle wrong, you can't just look at the answer right away. We need to refute the original move that we had planned. What that can mean is either the move you played is losing for some reason, or there's just a much better move on the board available. I'm going to now look at why the move d4 is not good. And what I realize now is that if I play the move d4, this knight is no longer defended. So white can simply either just move the knight away, or they can just take my knight, and after I take his knight, he takes my pawn. So the result of that position, if I evaluate it, is that these knights get traded, and then I lose this pawn. So at the end of that, I'm simply just losing a pawn. Which in a puzzle, we're trying to look for moves that are winning or drawing at the very least. So that's an actual example of my next tip, which was when you get the puzzle wrong, you need to refute why your move was not correct. For this next tip, I'm going to give another practical example. So pretending that this position is a puzzle, the idea that I came up with was I want to play the move knight to g5 in order to set up the move bishop takes h7. However, when I calculated and did my process, what I realized was that if I play the move knight to g5, black can just play the move h6. And if I try playing bishop h7 check there, black can just play king h8, and then both my knight and my bishop are under attack. So that line is not very good. And I realized that this move knight to g5 doesn't work, and I ended up just getting stuck. So what do you do when you get stuck? Well, my tip number 3 for what to do when you get stuck is you got to start trying to flip the move order around. So in my original idea there, the idea that I had was I wanted to play the move knight to g5 and then play the move bishop to h7. Well, what I realized was that didn't work. So what I should do now is I'm going to try flipping the move order. What if I play bishop takes h7 first? It looks crazy, right? Well, let's just try it. If I played bishop takes h7, the king would probably take it. Then I have knight to g5 check there, And if the king moves back to, say, h8, I can go queen h5 check. Then king g8 is forced. And then queen h7 is checkmate. As a pretty long line. I'm going to play it on the move, or on the board, so you could see that. Bishop takes h7. King takes bishop. Knight g5 check. If king h8, queen h5 check. King g8 is forced, and queen h7 is checkmate. So we saw that that move order... Oh, so we calculated that that move is winning. If he doesn't take my bishop, then I can just run away and we won a pawn for free, so that's also good. If he takes the bishop, and we give the check, and he runs to g8, we can still give queen h5 check, and this threat is coming in. And if he goes to somewhere like g6, then we have a move like queen to g4. So, not to dive too deeply into this puzzle, but the original tip that I wanted to specify was sometimes when you get stuck, you gotta try flipping the move order around and just actually calculating it out. And sometimes moves that look ridiculous initially end up actually just working out when you calculate it through. So that's my third tip to solve puzzles correctly. And that's it for this video. If you want to do puzzles on your own for practice, I recommend going to Lichess to do them because you can do them for free. On chess.com, it requires a membership in order to do puzzles unlimited. If you're below a rating of 1,000, I would also recommend focusing on the theme of hanging pieces, since that's going to be what decides games a majority of the time below 1,000 rating. But other than that, that's all of my tips and advice for this video. If you learned something or you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out a channel like mine greatly. Other than that, good luck in your future chess games. Have a good rest of your day, and goodbye.